Hote, Indiana. The corner of Wabash Avenue and 7th Street. A spot they call the crossroads of America. This is a town pulling in different directions, where divisions lurk just beneath the surface. A town polarized by a divisive election. In a country locked in a battle for control of its culture and its values. Terre Haute has picked the winner in every single presidential contest since 1956, charting the shifting moods of this nation for 60 years. So we've spent election week in this little corner of Indiana, before, during, and after polling day. And what we've found is a story of two Americas increasingly at odds with one another. I stay stoned on your love all the time. Our first story begins at the American Legion Post, where military veterans and their families gather in the evenings.
You know, we're the average everyday Joes out here.
Yeah.
You know, we come to the bars, we spend a little money to have a little fun, and I think basically that is to block out what's out there. This is our sanctuary.
And presumably most people in here agree with you.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I mean, are there any Hillary voters in this bar, do you think?
Hey, is there any Hillary voters in here?
They're out in the hallway.
These are people whose lives and views are intertwined. They like Trump because he speaks like them, and on the issues that they care about: veterans, Obamacare, immigration.
Well, they come in, our government will put them on welfare, they give them food stamps, they give them health care.
It's not fair, is what you're
yeah.
saying.
I mean, you know, hell, we live here. I was born here. You know, we paid the price for this country. Yeah, I worked here all my life.
In Obama, they saw a government that they felt didn't represent them. In Trump, they see an outsider who promises to tear that down.
This is an election with the people versus the government, is what it's come down to. People are tired of our government, and our government just can't get a handle on not understanding. They don't care.
The past 8 years of political gridlock has nourished a growing suspicion of government that has its roots deep in America's founding mythology. At its most radical, this antipathy to Washington takes expression in the militia movement.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
On the edge of a wood, we meet some members of the Indiana Volunteer Militia. Their semi-automatic rifles are not loaded. This is an exercise. But the guns are real, and these people are serious. We filmed these scenes 2 days before polling day. They said they were nervous about possible violence in the aftermath of the election.
I'm going to bug in at my home. I'm going to be highly defensive. I'm going to be, because...
What are you going to be expecting?
I'm actually expecting for martial law to take effect in this country, to an effect of I personally believe, a civil war.
All are Trump supporters. Hillary Clinton, they believe, represents a corrupt, liberal establishment.
Global elitists, corporate America rules what goes on with Americans anymore. And this is exactly right up her alley. She lives and walks, breathes, eats and sleeps for global elites.
The militia members represent a fringe, but the issues they identify are concerns shared by many who see free market liberalism and social liberalism as two sides of the same coin. It's deer hunting season in the Indiana countryside. In his day job, Tony Trotter is a prison guard, but hunting is his passion. Guns are as much a part of his culture as going to church on Sunday. And he feels that way of life is under threat from the Liberals.
I mean, the morals in this country has been going downhill for quite a while, so I think...
What do you mean by the morals?
Oh, I don't know. I'm believe in Christian values, so I guess, you know, just the liberal stuff. And then the racist, it seems like since Obama's been in, the racism is a lot worse now to me. So that's another thing. I'd like to see us get on the same page a little bit.
In what way? Give me an example of that.
Well, some of this Black Lives Matter thing, it's just,
You feel like it's racist against white people?
Yeah, I mean, white people shouldn't rule, but I'm starting to feel like white people are getting to be a minority, and that's not necessarily bad. It's different, I guess.
In what way do you feel that? Give me an example of when and how.
I guess some of it is maybe the jobs, but it's not really affecting me. But I can see it. You know, if you're a minority, you get easier to get a job.
Do you feel in your lifetime there's been a shift in who runs America?
Oh, a little bit. I don't. Politicians are still doing it. Still, most of them's white. So I guess it's the same ones. I don't know.
The issue of race has hung over this election, often unvoiced, but always present in the background. And this is where our second story begins.
2008, that's when I first met her.
Right, when she was running against Obama.
Right.
In Landis Pharaoh's Rib Shack in downtown Terre Haute. He remembers Bobby Kennedy coming to town as the civil rights movement reached its peak. The Trump phenomenon is, he believes, a reaction to the past 8 years of a black man in the White House.
It's his whole slogan, let's make America great again. Well, you know, I think America's pretty great right now. And so you would have to ask, what are they referring to? Or are they talking about going back to the 40s and the 50s?
And do you think they are?
I believe they are. Well, look at his enthusiasm and who's enthusiastic about him.
Be specific.
Old white people.
Old white people.
Old white people.
Right. And when you talk about going back to the 40s and the 50s, you're talking about segregation.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
You think that's what this
I don't
movement
think, I
is about?
I think that a lot of people want this country to be like it was when they were little, or when they thought it was great. You know, but you know, I'm looking at it from my perspective as a black man, you know, and you know what my parents had to go through.
During the Obama presidency, many of America's cultural battles have been fought out on university campuses over issues of race, sexuality, and gender. And here, it's the liberals who are in the ascendancy. In this room, are there people who support Donald Trump? Is there anyone here? No one at all. And might that be because are there any shy Trump voters? No. Do you guys think that the appeal of Trump is primarily economic, or do you think it's primarily cultural? Cultural. You were very definite on that. And why do you say that?
Because they think the same way he does. They've seen someone now on a stage with a podium saying those you know, kind of ignorant things that they think or that they say maybe at their house. They see someone that's going to say it up at a podium. Well, that's someone they can get behind, and I mean it's a scary thing.
I definitely agree with what he's saying. I think racists, misogynists, xenophobes, like that, those groups, they're not afraid to like voice what they feel anymore.
I think that this election, the crossroads that we're at, is more of a demographic thing here in the United States. We have a more diverse population now than ever, and we're moving towards a minority majority in the next few decades. And I think you're seeing a lot of backlash to the progress this country is making in giving different groups of people equal rights. So take gay marriage, for instance, in the past few years.
What was this like when you first started coming here in the 50s?
Oh, it was still, it was a marvelous place to come.
Pat Mansard came to Terre Haute when the local movie theatre was in its heyday. A time when the magnetic pole of traditional white male America guided the nation's moral and cultural compass. Pat is a Democrat, a former elected official who spent her life fighting for liberal causes.
I've never been so worried for my country.
What is at stake?
Our democracy. Big money is really hijacking our democracy. We don't even know, in many cases, where this money's coming from, who it is. It's dark money. You can't follow it.
You sound like a Trump supporter.
Oh, no, not at all.
But so Trump supporters are saying, have identified that problem and are saying, let's tear down the system. And you're saying...
What are you going to replace it with? Fascism?
Is that what you fear?
That's what I fear. Because I think fascism, as it was in Europe, was not that strong, but democracy was weak. And I think our democracy is getting weaker.
Most of the conversations you've heard so far were recorded before the result of the election was announced. Now, different people had different expectations, of course, but the polls all predicted a win for Hillary Clinton. And so when, in the early hours of Wednesday morning, Donald Trump emerged as America's new president-elect, it was an earthquake on both sides of the divide. At the Crossroads Cafe, we caught up with a few of the people we'd met earlier. Tom Smith from the American Legion, who brought his wife, Katrina.
I feel great. It's a brand new world.
Right.
It is.
Really, it is.
I think a lot of people feel the same way. They've got another chance.
And Pat Mansard, the Liberal.
Actually, almost, feeling physically ill.
Donald Trump is the voice for folks that can't express themselves. And Donald Trump comes in there and does and says everything that we think, and talk about amongst ourselves. And I think deep down inside, people, they like that. They're excited about that. I'm excited about that.
He stirred up all the worst, it seems like, in people. And I want to be optimistic, but I can't see my way yet.
I think putting Donald Trump in as president, I think it put us back on the right track.
The election is over, life in America goes on. But some dark undercurrents have been pushed to the surface. This has always been more than just a country. America is also an idea, an ideal, that now stands at a crossroads in its history.